started. There's a lot of information that we cover in this meeting. Thank you to all of you who are here tonight. Hopefully when you leave you'll have some information that will be helpful as you help your child plan for the next couple years of high school. If you didn't grab one of these outside of the auditorium, please grab one on your way out. These are a resource that we get from the Iowa College Access Network. They're very good as far as college planning, and all of the Iowa colleges, their information is in here. There's a lot more in depth than we'll go through with you today. More of what we're going to go through is more ELC specific, I guess, as far as some of the opportunities that students have from here moving forward. We didn't used to do a sophomore meeting, but we figured that a lot of the students are getting to the point now where they're going to be taking college credits if classes in high school. So it's a good time for us to give you kind of the overview. How does that work? What does it look like? How do they get into it? How do they register? And that kind of thing. So, and we'll also go over some other non-college related, but a lot of it will be with college. So what we'll cover, the opportunities we have through Iowa Lakes, college admissions, college tests, college reps, scholarships, transcripts, class choices, credit recovery, online classes, open campus, AP, career exploration, military, briefly on TRIO, and then if anybody has questions. So it's a lot that we're going to go over in a short time. I think I know most of you, but I'm Mrs. Breckwald. If I don't know who you are, I'm the high school counselor. I'll introduce myself first. We worked with your students on their course planning this morning. So unless they were one of our sick kids today, because we've got quite a few out, and I got a lot of emails from parents that are sick too. So we'll have to get a time with them so that we can work on their plans. But they got to work on those for quite a while this morning and ask questions and spend some good time on those. Mr. Leonard helped this morning too, and Mrs. White. She's our success coordinator, but she also helps me in the office and helps a lot with scheduling and planning for students as well. All right, college classes. This is a question we get a lot about the college classes. The first thing I want to make sure everybody understands is that and we tell the students this, but to make sure they understand, when they take a college class, whether it's taught by the high school or taught by the college, they have now started a college GPA, they have a college transcript, it's all being counted towards college. So if they don't do well in it, it doesn't go away. Okay, it's there, it's permanent, and it's on their transcript. So that could be Ms. Lair's survey of the animal industry that we teach at the high school. It is now on their transcript. So they need to be sure they're ready for that when they sign up for it, okay? Whichever way you're going to take those. Students, some of these are just changes, and that's why they're on here. Students pay for their textbooks. That has been a change in the last couple years. Iowa Lakes has changed how they charge us. We've had to change what we're doing. So unless they're on a waiver, free reduced lunch, TRIO, one of those programs, they can get a waiver from me, and then their textbooks may be either partially or fully covered depending on that. Okay? Make sure you have to sign off on classes that they would take at the college. If they do Career Academy at the college, if they do online classes at the college, if they do face-to-face classes at the college, we send home paperwork with them, and parents have to sign off on that. Make sure you read that, because a lot of the questions I get are in that information. So keep that maybe in a file or somewhere, so that if you have questions later, and a lot of this information's in there too, that you have it. The expectations of students, Iowa Lakes sets a deadline for when their registrations are due, but we operate a little bit different because we're on a different calendar, and we can't have our kids changing classes 2 weeks into the semester. So Iowa Lakes may have a separate date than we do. Same thing with registration. We have to have our schedule set And so when we're scheduling 380 kids, we have to have that probably before Iowa Lakes' deadline. So when we give a deadline to them, we have to make sure they follow it. So if we say it's on May 5th, they have to have their paperwork in by then, or else they're not going to be allowed to take that class. Okay? And we have found that in the past, the students who were late turning their paperwork in were typically the ones we were chasing around that were not doing well in their classes. They couldn't meet the deadlines, they weren't getting things in on time. They were the ones that were struggling in their classes as well. So we've had to just say, if it's not in at this time, you can take the class, you just have to pay for it yourself. Okay, because we pay for those, it changes things. So we have to set those deadlines for them. Students have to be able to communicate with their teachers at the college. Okay, that's another thing. If they struggle to communicate with their high school teacher they see every day, this might not be something they're ready for yet, because they have to be able to email them, communicate with them, ask them questions. Okay, I can't do that for them. Mrs. White can't do that. Now, if it becomes an issue with a class, or they aren't getting a response from an instructor that they've tried to communicate with, those are times I could get involved and try to help them. Okay, because we don't want them just out there not getting what they need, but they have to be able to do those things. We've had, it seems like, a lot more issues lately with students just signing up for a whole bunch of college classes and then withdrawing or dropping them partway in. We're still responsible for paying for those unless they drop in the first 10 days. So we really want to eliminate that as far as students withdrawing from classes. Right now, the way it was set up, it was almost easier to get out of a college class than it was a high school class, which seems kind of backwards. Like, they could withdraw until April, and there was really no penalty unless they needed that credit for eligibility purposes. Okay, so they would take a W on their transcript. It really didn't affect them a whole lot. We are going to change that for next year just because of the numbers we've had withdrawing. They'll get a W on their college transcript, but on their high school transcript, they will have an F for the class because they didn't complete the requirements of the course. Okay, so that will be a change. Initially the program, to be able to give kids these opportunities, was designed for them to explore classes and get a few college classes done. Not necessarily to finish their college degree at the same time they did high school. And that happens sometimes. Some kids can do that. They have to self-pay, they have to do a ton of classes, but most of our kids aren't ready for that. Where they're taking that many college classes at a time. Is there anything you want to add on this part of it?
I just think want to reinforce that deadline that because that can cost you as parents thousands of dollars. If the deadline to turn in their college registrations is May 11th at the high school, we don't take any after that day. So keep track of that. Another one is with scholarships, and that does affect them next year. We have 60% of our class that goes to Iowa Lakes, and we have a junior scholarship that's a free $1,000, and we have 5 juniors show up to fill it out. They can make $1,000 in 10 minutes, and they don't even show up to fill it out. And it doesn't affect them, but it affects you. You could have made $1,000 in 10 minutes. So you've got to keep track of those things. The junior scholarship just amazes me. We even put it in as, hey, we have $1,000 for you in the guidance office if you show up. And we still only we had maybe 10 kids that year. So it's just crazy some of the money that they're trying to give away and people don't even show up for it. So those deadlines are really, really important. And to you as parents, they're important because they can cost you a lot of money if you don't meet them.
So that was more maybe some of the negative things, but some of the positive things is it is a great opportunity. You can earn high school and college. So when we say dual credit, people get confused. Dual credit just means you're getting credit at both places. So Iowa Lakes is giving you college credit, we're giving you high school credit. So typically a college class is 3 credits. We would give you 1 high school credit for that. They'll give you whatever they're weighting it for. So if it's 3, you get your 3 out there. Okay, you get 1 high school credit. It can count towards your electives that you need to graduate from ELC. So it does count for both. Okay, so make sure, you know, when they're working on those, that they're counting that into their credits that they're taking. Based on Senior Year Plus, which is a big packet that we kind of have to know quite a bit about, but I don't probably know all of it. They can take up to 23 college credits in a year, okay, and that's paid for by the school. We don't have a lot that take that many, but we do have some that we have to say, like, you've met your maximum. So we have to keep track of that too. That's another part of this, is keeping track of how many classes. Now, if they self-pay for more than that they can do that. It's just what we pay for. So at 3 credits per class, that's quite a few, but they can max out, especially if they're doing some of the ones we have at the high school too. Contracted classes, so those are ones that they would take at Iowa Lakes. We have a lot of kids doing those face-to-face. We're lucky here. A lot of schools don't get this opportunity. They don't have a college in their town that they can send their kids a block over to go to a 9 o'clock Fundamentals of Oral Communication class. So we're very lucky we have that, and we want our kids to be able to do those things. It's good for them too, because then they get a little bit of experience of college while they're in high school. It's not so scary when they go on, that they've been in a college environment and they kind of know what to expect. Online, we have more and more doing this all the time. You know, they're offering more and more all the time. I would highly recommend, if they haven't done an online high school class yet, that they don't start with their first online class ever being a college class. We have some online high school classes that are not for college credit. I would definitely try one of those first to see if you are good at online. Some people who are very good in the classroom really struggle with this, and vice versa. Some of our kids who are not very good in the classroom do very well in them. They like to sit, they work good on their own with their earbuds, and they have a deadline, they know what they have to do, they don't talk to anybody, they can just work on their class. So it's very individual as far as who's gonna do well in them, but those are 2 ways that students can take online. I have noticed with kids who register for multiple online college, it usually doesn't go real well when they're trying to carry a full course load at the high school, and they end up in 2 online classes and then 1 online at the high school. Some of them have 3 online classes, and just trying to manage that time is difficult. I would struggle with that for sure. Being able to meet all those deadlines, knowing everything's due, because every instructor is going to be different, and you're going to have deadlines all over the place. We talked about the textbooks and following deadlines set by ELC, because it's hard for Iowa Lakes. They have their deadlines. So if somebody asks somebody at the college, like, hey, how long can we register? Be sure you're checking with us, because our dates may be different than what they allow their students who are paying through on their own. The concurrent enrollment, so there's these big terms, and you don't remember these. I have to remind myself what they're all the time. Those are the classes taught here. So we have, some of you are maybe in them right now. Survey of the Animal Industry. It was Miss Lair. We have, I think I have a list of them later on.
Agriculture.
The agronomy is, Mr. Johnson has 3 in the tech department that are dual credit, concurrent enrollment classes.
Intro computers.
Miss DeWitt has intro to computers, which if anyone's going to go to Iowa Lakes after you graduate, you should take it, because it's required there. No one should graduate high school without that if their plan is to go to Iowa Lakes, because we have it here, it's our teacher, and it would be silly not to take that free class while you're here. And that's a good one for our current sophomores to be juniors to take, because they don't have a lot of time in their day to necessarily go out to the college and take 2 or 3 hours out of their day, because they've got a lot of stuff they still need here, but it's in one period of the day here. So we see a lot of juniors taking that one. So that would be a good one next year if you want to try to get a college class, but you don't really have time to go out there. Also accounting, we have intro to accounting, Ms. Frieders teaches that one. And some of our juniors will take that one too. Career Academy is another option, and I think I have a slide on that later. As far as what's offered, I'll go through those. But it's another way students can get credit for college. Eligibility, this gets really complicated because there's different requirements for all the different types of classes you're taking. Even like Intro to Computers has different requirements than accounting. Or if you want to take composition, you have to have certain test scores on the AccuPlacer, which the kids took today. The AccuPlacer, you have to have certain scores in math. So we have to keep a master spreadsheet of everybody's scores and know what they're eligible for. I have to check that, sign off that, yeah, they qualify for that class, or no, they don't, based on AccuPlacer scores. Iowa assessments, which they'll take in a couple weeks. They have to be proficient in all three areas for most of the college classes. Okay, not all of them, but most of them. Career Academy, the more career tech classes, they have to take the AccuPlacer, but there isn't really any proficiency required. So again, they just kind of have to check with me if they're interested and see if they're qualified for what they want to take. The ACT also would count in that. I don't think very many I think there's a couple of sophomores who have taken their ACT, but most of them don't take it till their spring of their junior year or summer. If they're thinking of four-year college, they'll take it usually then. So most of them won't have those scores, but if they do, they could use those in place of the AccuPlacer. Of course, we need them to be on track for high school, because if they're not, then they probably don't have room in their schedule to be taking college classes. We have dates where we bring in Iowa Lakes. A couple people from there come in and help us with the registration process. And we sit down with the kids and look through their day and figure out, like, when can you take what, if you can take it. I didn't look through, but we don't have a lot of juniors, like I said, who go out to the college just for, when you look at their schedules, you'll see they're pretty full here. So, I don't know, I'd say there's maybe a handful that'll go out to the college or take online. Online, we don't really have to work a schedule around because they're online. We just need to make sure that they have the minimum required classes and that it's not too much for them. And then the face-to-face ones we do need to work around. So if they want to take a 9 o'clock class at the college, they cannot miss a high school class for it, so we have to make sure that their schedule is set up so that it doesn't interfere at the high school with the class. Again, parents sign off on the courses that they would take at the college, so any that's not taught by our instructors, parents. If you're wondering, like our high school classes, when you go into their schedules, you'll see like Intro to Accounting, it'll have parentheses and it'll say like ACC 111. If you see a class that looks like that, it's a college class. Okay, so you can tell when you look on their schedule if it's one we teach that has those parentheses with the college class number on it. That is not what I want. All right, so these are these are all the Career Academy programs that students can take. And I kind of feel like this is maybe one of the most underutilized opportunities Iowa Lakes offers for our students. We have tons and tons of options for kids out there, and we probably have 8 to 15 kids a year taking these classes. Right? And these are a lot of times the classes for the students who maybe don't want to be in a classroom sitting all day. They want to go out to the college and be working with their hands or wiring up something or taking it apart or in the shop doing the mechanics or working on stuff. So if this looks like, one of these programs looks like something you think you would like or your child would like, have them talk to us about or find out more about this, because this is a really good opportunity. They go to the college for 3 periods of the day. So first, second, and third hour, they go to Iowa Lakes. Iowa Lakes tells us the classes they're going to be in, so it's not us saying you're going to take these classes. And they go to these classes first 3 periods of the day. Then they come back to the high school, and they take the rest of their classes here. Juniors can usually, if they're on track, make it work. We sometimes have to get a little creative in their schedule for junior and senior year because they can do this for 2 years. They can get a lot of a program done in 2 years if they go there for the 2 years. We have a lot of students who do it to try to get through 2 years, and they've got probably a year plus done when they graduate high school, and they only have to go another year, a year and a half. We also have kids, which is also really great, that take it for a semester and they switch programs because they figured out this is not what I want to do. They thought it was, and they found out it's not. I think that's great. You figured it out before you were going to college paying for it. Okay, so even if that's the outcome, they've got some college credit, they've gotten into a program and found out they didn't want to do it before they paid a whole bunch of money to figure that out. So, all kinds of things for kids to do out there. I think they added an aviation one this year. I think this was the first year they added aviation. I don't have that on there, which is pretty cool that our kids can go out and do some of those classes now too. So I think that's another option that they have.
The opportunity right now in skilled labor is unbelievable. These kids are going to Iowa Lakes after high school for a year, and they're making, I think those HVAC kids are starting $65,000, $70,000 jobs. So if you have a child that's hands-on learner, these programs are unbelievable right now, the opportunity. And I always say, I wish my kid wanted to be a plumber. I really, really do. Nobody wants to be a teacher, so. And for him, that's too bad because every one of these jobs would pay more than a starting teacher. So I think this is the greatest thing that Iowa Lakes offers our kids. We could talk about concurrent enrollment and all that, but these programs for kids are unbelievable. So obviously, if they don't like to do those things, they shouldn't. But if they do, it's a great opportunity.
All right, we talked about these. So these are the ones we offer here at the high school that are dual credit as well as high school. And again, these are taught by our teachers, which is really nice because they have access to them. They can get a hold of them. They can go talk to them. They are in their classroom with them. I don't know why I have this one separated from the other one. All right, and one thing before I go on to this one is Mrs. White reminded me to touch on this, that we don't have access to your kids' college grades. Okay, so we can't see how they're doing in those classes. When they sign up, they're signing up as if they're a college student. Okay, the expectation is they are a college kid. They're going to do what they need to do. We don't have JMC for it, where we can go in and check their grades and make sure they've been going to class. Sometimes, depending on the program and the teacher, we may get a notification if they got flagged, but we may not either. We may not have any idea how they're doing. And usually if I get something, I'll pass it on, but that's not very often that happens. Now again, our teachers that teach them, it's in JMC, you would know how they're doing if they were taking one here. Transferring college classes, this is kind of tricky, because if they're not, we have kids going to all different colleges, if they're going to Iowa Lakes, of course you don't really need to worry about it, because you know it's going to go with them to the college. If they're not planning to go to Iowa Lakes and they're planning to go to a 4-year college right out of high school, it's important that they start looking at those requirements or what's going to transfer for them. because we might say, like, Western Civ usually transfers almost everywhere, but some colleges may say, oh, you have to have Comp 1 and Comp 2 in order for us to count your composition from Iowa Lakes. So typically when students are starting to take quite a few classes and they know where they're going to go, we tell them to check with that college, because usually there's an admissions person that they can talk to and say, hey, will this class transfer, and what does it transfer as? Usually they transfer, it's just not necessarily what you want it to transfer as. It may just be an elective, maybe it's a math class, and it might not meet their math requirement for their college, so they would probably take the credit, they just might not give you the math credit for it, if that makes sense. So you want to be checking on those transfer. Iowa Lakes has a site where you can go, and it has a lot of our area schools like South Dakota State, Iowa State, a lot of the private schools I think are on there. You can actually type in the class like that you're looking for and see if and what it transfers as on their sites. And we have Miss Bonner, she couldn't be here tonight, but she works in my office too. She's called our college access coach, and those are things that we've given her to do with students to help them with. So if you have somebody who knows they maybe want to go to South Dakota State, she could help them pull out a list and say, here are some classes that will transfer. So anything college related, ACT, if they want to do college search, college admissions, she's a good resource for them to go to talk to about those things. I included the link, and I will send this out. I know I gave you paper copies. You can't get to the link through that. I will share this with you guys after the meeting, so you'll have the links to that too. Okay, make sure, and not just for college classes, but make sure that your child, as they start thinking about different colleges, they're checking on admissions requirements to those schools. Because there are some, we keep track of what they need to graduate high school. We have kids who graduate all the time. You don't have to have chemistry to graduate from our high school. You might need chemistry to go into a college that you want to go to. Okay? You might need something that we don't require, but they may. Okay? And we can't know all of those things. Like, I think, is it Minnesota that has like a geography requirement? We don't have geography as a requirement for graduation, and most of our colleges wouldn't require that. But there's just, sometimes you'll catch a strange class. We don't usually have issues with our kids getting in, but there are just some things that you want to be looking for as far as what that college might need. And for scholarships, because they may say, like, you don't have to have it to get in, but if you took all these and did really well, you could qualify for this academic scholarship. The requirements are usually found on the school's admissions page, and I linked an example you guys can look at. RAI, have you guys heard of RAI score? If you're thinking about Iowa State, UNI, so it's just for our state schools, they basically have a calculator. You plug your numbers into it, and it spits out a number and says, if you got over a 245, you automatically get it. Okay, so it doesn't, there's no like, write your big essay and do all this. It's, here's your transcript, here's your ACT, your core classes, your class rank, and they calculate it, and then it says, if you're over 245, you get accepted. If you're under that, there is an option to request an appeal type of a thing where you can, and I've written letters for kids that I know would be successful. Maybe for some reason they had a bad semester at some point or had something going on, and help them try to get past that, because maybe they were like a 240, they were close, but 245 and up, you're gonna get in. And you guys can look at that, but this is what it looks like. Oh, this isn't the site, but never mind. I don't have the calculator on here. There's a calculator, and if they need help with that, then that's another thing Ms. Bonner could look at. Because you can say, well, you can manipulate that now, right? Because you haven't determined all of your classes. The best way to up that is by your core classes. And by core, we mean math, science, English, social studies, and foreign language. You take as many of those as you can, that's going to boost your score up higher. Okay, so those that take a bunch of classes their senior year that aren't in that core sometimes struggle with this because they haven't been taking the English, the math, the science, the social studies. Okay, and if you're not the best test taker, because your ACTs figure pretty high in there too, that's one way you can try to boost that up a little bit. You can go in and do, a projected one if you're going to guess what you might score on your ACT, or use like the average and calculate that out and see where you think you might fall. But it's kind of hard to do it as a sophomore just because you don't really know where you're going to be at the end of next year.
A lot of kids today, when you're searching colleges, a foreign language is probably the most important one to look for. If you know you're going to the University of Iowa or whatever, it'll say 2 years of foreign language or something. They'll still take you, but you'll have to do it when you get there. So you want to make sure that that's clear. If you take 4 years in high school, they'll waive that requirement for you when you get to the University of Iowa. That's why it's really important. A lot of the kids today were debating, well, am I going to stay in Spanish or not? It really depends on where you're going to college. UNI doesn't have a foreign language requirement at all. So it's even different in our state schools, but that's one to really look close at if you're thinking about getting out of Spanish after your sophomore year. It may say you only need 2 years in high school, but that means you still have to take it when you get there. Whereas if you take all 4 years in high school, they'll waive it at the University of Iowa. So that one's one really to look closely at. I think Iowa Lakes even do they have a foreign language requirement if you don't take it in high school? No, okay. So it depends on where you go to school.
I had that conversation with a lot of them today that were on the fence with Spanish, and I highly suggested they stay just because you just don't know, but I understand too, some of them, if it's going to hurt their GPA or those types of things, sometimes you have to weigh out what's going to be best for them as far as what they're doing. Usually the question I tell them, ask the college, not what you need to get in, what do you need to get out? Okay? I can get in with it, can I get out with it? Is that going to get me through college with that?
Because they'll take your money. They'll let you in, but once you're there, they're going to make you do all these other things. They're not very often they're going to deny you at a state school because they want your money. But they're just going to make you jump through extra hoops if you haven't done it before.
And for students, then you're paying, maybe 2 years of college, which you could have been taking other classes that you wanted to take versus being in Spanish when you could, a lot of kids will come back and say, should have just stayed in it for the last year or two because they didn't want to stay in it at the time. So, yeah, I agree. That one's a tough one. But not what do you need to get in, what do you need to get out of there? This is kind of a suggested guideline for students. So what we like to tell them is if you're planning on going to a 4-year college, you don't know where, but that's your plan, go to the far right and look at your optimum preparation. Why? Because you're optimally prepared for college, right? If you've taken these classes, you should be ready for what you're going to have to do there. So, again, you'll have access to this, but it's a little bit higher than even what these schools require. Okay, so 4 years is a suggestion on that one. Optimum preparation. Okay. I must have these mixed up. Here's your REI calculator that we were talking about. So you can see how it calculates it out. 2 times your ACT, 1 times your high school rank. And a lot of high schools have gotten away from ranks in Iowa, so they have an alternate calculator. They said it's harder to get in with the alternate calculator because in my mind I was thinking, well, could we try the alternate? But they said if you don't make it with this, you're not going to make it with the alternate. So That's why our school still has the rank. So we use this one, 20 times your high school GPA, 5 times the number of your core classes. So you can tell where your GPA and your core classes are going to weigh in there pretty heavy. At the bottom, there's a link. We get a list every year of our approved classes, what they consider core. I can't think really of any in our math, science, social studies, English that don't count. And then you also have to remember that if they take a social studies like at Iowa Lakes, that would count. Because that's beyond what our curriculum, so if they took Western Civ, you could count that into their core classes. ACT, AccuPlacer, SAT, again, this will be important if they're planning to go to a 4-year, that they do this. We suggest they take it by their spring of junior year or summer of junior year, okay? And they don't suggest necessarily you do it much before then because you haven't been through the upper level math. You haven't been through some of the English that you may need to be best prepared. If you really just want to take it just to see how you do, you could. And they don't care how many times you take it, they just take your highest score. So it doesn't look bad if you've taken it multiple times, because I get asked that quite a bit. And then it also doesn't, like if you score better your junior year than you do your senior year, they're just going to take your highest score. Okay? And you can retake those anytime. Again, we have waivers if somebody qualifies for those. We send these dates out to the kids all the time. Hey, remind them waivers are out. The AccuPlacer, they took it today. And again, that's another one. They can retake it. A lot of our kids will pass 2, like the English, but not the math. And we don't get too worried because the math, a lot of them are in like intro 2 right now. They haven't even had geometry. And we're asking you to take a college placement for math. So we know they may have to retest. It's good for them to see where they're at, but a lot of times they have to retest. And they're doing it a new version of the test this year. They're using, I think it's the next generation. So it's even changed from what they used to test. It's changed a lot of times over the last few years. But that's what the community college uses. They can go take that anytime. Someone have a question? They can go take that anytime if they need to retake it, and they can just take the part they need. So when they get their scores back next week, if they passed one but they didn't pass another one, and they want to retake it in 6 months or a year, you can go to the Success Center anytime and say, hey, can my child retake the math part? And I think it's $10 for you to retake that part. Now the AccuPlacer is only good at the community college, so it won't be in place like for a 4-year college. We've had a lot of trouble getting kids to come to these when the people are here, and it sounds like it's not just us, it's kind of a thing with high school in general, and I don't know if it's because they have access online and they can just look up whatever they want to look up, but I highly encourage our students, if there's the University of Iowa's here, or Morningside, or Buena Vista, or Iowa Central, and those are colleges you're thinking about going to, you need to go talk to those people. And not because you need to go find out everything they can tell you, because of one reason mainly. That connection, that person, that admissions person, because if anyone can help you in the process getting in, if you're not sure what you need to bring to your registration day, or you don't know if your FAFSA went through, or you need to ask them what's required for that college, that is a person you can email and say, hey, kind of like you do with us for high school classes, do I have to have geography to graduate? Do I need this? That is your person. And if you don't have that person, you don't have somebody to ask those questions to. And it's really hard for students to call places and say, hey, do you guys need geography? They're like, what do I say? You say, hello, this is so-and-so. I am wondering about an admissions requirement. It's really hard for them. So if you can make that one-on-one connection, get that person's email, have that person you can talk to, it makes it so much easier for you. So go talk to them when they're here. They will also send out information to you like, hey, we have a scholarship if you come on a visit day, or we have a visit on Friday, on the March 31st, you should come. Okay? They will start sending you that stuff that is important for you to have. So we highly encourage you to go see them.
I just to reinforce what Minnie said, do not be afraid to call. To a state school, you're worth $25,000 to them. Call and ask questions. If you're going to a private school, you're probably worth $45,000 to them. Get the answers that you need. I mean, do not be afraid to call those people and demand answers. And if they can't give it to you, maybe that's not, you're worth a lot of money to them. So make sure they understand they're working for you and you need the answers. And they'll get them for you.
And they like that. They like it when you guys communicate. I feel bad sometimes because they'll come and they'll sit here for like 2 minutes and not one student. I'm like, somebody go talk to them, please, because they're here. But you might find out about a really cool program, too, that you didn't even know existed. Or you might just find something that you didn't know before. So, we used to have in the day when I was in school, we all wanted to go talk to them so we could get out of class. And nobody even wants to leave the classroom. You don't know why, but they don't leave and go talk to them. So it doesn't hurt to go talk to them. And if ever you start getting bombarded with emails from them and you don't want them, you just say, hey, I've chosen a different place. Can you remove me? And you're off their list. So go talk to those people when they're here. We didn't print transcripts. Sometimes at this meeting, we used to bring their transcripts, but hopefully by now you guys have access to JMC. You can see these on there. Okay, so if you didn't know that, check that piece out. You can see their all the classes they've taken. You can see all their grades. You can see their GPA. You can see their class rank. You can see what they're in right now, currently taking on their transcript. So be sure that you're checking that to see where they're at. And if you want to know how many core classes they've taken, you can go on there. You want to see where they rank at right now. You can go check that out anytime. We gave these to the students today. Some of them did really well. Some of them had a tough time checking off what they took and how to count it. So we have to explain to them how to use that checklist, because we had a checklist on one side and we had their schedule on the other. And we wanted them to figure out how to go through and figure out, what do I still need to graduate, and then plan their next 2 years so they could see what it looks like. Okay, how many more classes do I need? I still need an English credit. I still need a science credit. So we had them do that. We have those here tonight for the parents if you want to look at those. We aren't required to have parents sign off after 8th grade, but we like to have parents sign off on them because we know you know what they're taking and what they're enrolled in. It might change depending on their schedule, because you will find, and this gets really frustrating for the kids, they pick psychology and they picked band and they picked Spanish 3. And there's only so many periods it fits into, and so we have to call them in and say, hey, psychology didn't fit because you had Spanish and band, and so I can't put you in that one. What do you want instead? So if you see changes, it's likely that. And that happens more as they get older and they're taking classes that we only teach one period of the day. Because we can't offer 6 sections of psychology. We can only offer 1. Up until this point, though, normally they get what they want unless it was full on them. So for juniors, it just becomes more of a, if it works in their schedule. And you guys can look at their plans. We do want to keep these, but if you want to take a picture of it, if you want to, the back has a checklist they went through, the front has their plan. It has all the graduation requirements, and again, some of them did a really good job on the back, checking them off. Some struggled with it a little bit as far as knowing where to count them. And they had to pass them too, because we had some write them down. You can't give yourself credit for it if you didn't pass it. Check it off. Course selections, we worked on those today. You can review those tonight. as soon as Mrs. White usually does the bulk of the entering of them into the system, once she starts entering them, you'll start seeing them pop up into the JMC for their schedules for next year. It probably won't be for a while yet. But once we get them all back, we enter juniors first. Juniors to be seniors, they get there for, they get entered first, and the sophomores, and so it goes down. So we're not filling a class that a senior wants with a freshman. So we go in order. The ELC reading, ELC math, if they get placed in one of those courses based on Iowa assessments, that could change a little bit. Course conflicts could change their plan. If I run a credit check and I see somebody's missing something, usually that would be more senior. They forgot to put in an English elective. I may put something in their schedule for them, and then they may come and say, hey, why am I in creative writing? Well, it's so that I can have that conversation with them, like, you didn't have creative, you didn't have an English elective, you didn't have what you needed to graduate. I linked the course offering book there, so you guys can take a look at it too. Go through that if you want. Okay, other things that we want them to consider as they make their plans. What are your plans after high school? Unbelievably, we have kids who will say, I'm going to be an accountant. How did you do in accounting in high school? I didn't take accounting. Why? Okay, I want to be a
Nurse.
How'd you do in chemistry and anatomy? Oh, I'm not taking anatomy. Okay, well, we might need to rethink your plan here. I'm going to be a doctor. Ooh, you really like biology. I hate biology. Okay, let's talk about your plan. Because we have to be realistic, too. We don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but if you hate science, then you're not going to be a doctor. Okay, that's what you're going to go to school for. So, and we encourage them today, hey, if you want to be a pilot, talk to us. What should you take? Physics, and what are those classes that you should be taking? Because they don't know. They don't always know that. And that's where we have to help them figure that out. So if you know that as a parent too, help them with those things. And when you see their plan and it comes back and you think, what are you doing? Ask them those questions, okay? Because you guys know those things that maybe they don't really think about at the time. Nursing, chemistry gets them a lot. I think they get a little, why do I need chemistry for nursing? But a lot of places you have to have a C or better in both semesters of chemistry to get into the nursing programs. Okay? Vets, we always tell them take anatomy. If you want to do those things. Psychology, if you want to be a teacher, or child development, those kinds of things depending on what level. So there's lots of options. And we want them to be taking those things too, not just the core classes. Do you have to make up classes? Hopefully they've got a plan for that. If they have classes they need to make up as far as summer school or credit recovery. Challenging yourself, that's usually fairly good until they get to be a senior. And then they want to take just give me the easy classes. Just give me what I need to get out of here. Okay? And that's a problem because then their RAI scores are going down. Colleges are looking at their transcripts and looking at what they're taking, so you don't want to do that. We have a lot of kids who do, and I can't tell them they can't, just like chemistry. I know I would love to see more kids taking it. We don't require it to graduate. I can advise them and say, I really think you should, but ultimately in the end, if it comes back and they don't have it on there, unless the parent says they have to take it, they call me and say, you need to put that in it, I can't require them to do that. So it takes some help from you guys too as far as what you want them in. And a lot of times they want to make their schedule based on what their friend's taking, and it's not what's best for them. Okay? They see their friends taking, marketing, but they maybe have no interest in marketing, and they should be in an animal science class because that would help them more. Marketing's a great class, but if you're not taking something that's going to help you, it's probably not the best choice for you. What else we got? Is that the end of it? That's not the end of it.
Something else to look into is the military. If you guys are interested in the military, the requirements are different now than they were back before 9/11 happened. So if you're looking into the Air Force, go to the Air Force website and be like, oh, what do they recommend? Because the Air Force is a pretty rigorous schedule they want you in to even get into the Air Force. So if the military is an option you guys are looking at, make sure you are on the website checking out their recommendations and requirements to get in.
So when you guys look at their transcripts, really what you want to look at for the most part, because you always worry, like, are they on track? Do they have what they need? Are they getting everything in their schedule that they have to graduate? If they have, at the end of their sophomore year, if they have 24 credits, they are on track to graduate. You know, you really can't get too far off your freshman and sophomore year, no matter what you take, because we tell you so many of the classes you have to take. You don't have a ton of choices. So as long as they're past 24, which a lot of our students are at 27, 28, but if they're at 24, they are on track, because they only have to have 48 to graduate. That's the requirement. So that's kind of how you can tell if they're on track. We'll be sending out summer school stuff, you know, before too long, on ways kids can make up some classes if they need to. Open campus, they do get this next year as a junior. Unless the parent says they don't want them to have it, you can take that away. That's your option to say, nope, I don't want them to have open campus. We will take it away in certain situations if they fail classes, if they are tardy or have excessive absences from school. Those can be taken away from the students during the year. Or you can give it to them at first and then take it away as a parent, or you can say no right away and then see how things are going. I mean, it's really, we can't have you changing it like you're mad at them this week so they can't have it. Next week I'm going to give it back to them. But it's not like grounding them. But if you say no, we'll say no till they get it.
What do you mean open campus?
Meaning, so if they don't have a class, they can leave the building. So if they don't have like a first period class, maybe they have second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. And where right now they would have had a study hall first period, or opposite their PE, they would have that open. And then eighth period, where like freshmen and sophomores have open campus now, or freshmen and sophomores have study hall now, eighth period would be open for juniors too, unless for one of the various reasons they don't get it, they've lost it. A lot of juniors will have enough classes in their schedule that they might get opposite of their PE open and eighth period is what you typically would see with their schedules. But again, it's something that is up to you. There's a form at registration that you can sign and say, nope, I don't want to have it. Then we put a study hall in their schedule instead of open. Do you want to talk about that a little?
I don't know, I think everybody's gotten a lot of information on the new attendance policy. I feel like that's all I've talked about for the last year or so. If they qualify for summer school, you probably know that. You get a letter at 5, you need it at 8, you get another letter at 13, you get another letter at 15 days. After that, they qualify for summer school. But just so everybody's aware, we have about 29 kids who've qualified for summer school because of attendance. And they've already got that notification. Just so everybody's on the same page, we're going on a vacation to Florida. You're not. I mean, if you want any grades for second semester, you're going to be in summer school. I have a baseball game. We are accepting no excuses for summer school unless it's a signed doctor's note that they can't be there. So I have to work, I have a baseball game, I have a softball game, we're going on vacation that week. Just so everybody's on the same page, because the students will not receive any credit for the courses they took second semester until summer school has been completed. And if it doesn't get completed, they just start over again the next year. So it could be pretty costly if kids don't show up. So just, again, you've gotten lots of information on it. So
We check grades at grading periods, and that would mean midterm, quarters, semesters. If they're failing at that point, they would lose an open campus time in their day because they need a study hall to work on their work because they're not doing it on their own time. So that is revoked at that point if anybody is failing a class. AP classes. These are advanced placement classes. These are offered through the University of Iowa. That's the only way we offer these currently. Miss Frazier, that works at the middle school, who does the talented and gifted, is in charge of these. So she helps students register for them, figure out deadlines, dates, sets up their AP exams for them if they choose to test. Pretty much she takes care of that program. I don't know who our new person will be. I don't know if we know that yet.
We don't have a big AP program just because of our relationship with Iowa Lakes. It makes more sense to ask for our kids being a block away to actually take the college class than it does to take the AP course and then hope they pass the exam at the end to get college credit. So for a kid to take AP biology for our kids it doesn't make a lot of sense because they could go to Iowa Lakes and take biology and they know if they go to class, they do the work and everything, they're going to earn the credit. So our AP program is not real big, but if it's an interest of yours, we'll figure out, I don't know who her replacement is, but Mindy
And
and
we
I.
always
can
have
help
a
you.
few kids who do take them.
There's
So
a
it's an
handful.
option, and they're not a guaranteed college credit like he said. You have to score a certain score on your exam in the end of the class to get the credit for it. So
And it is a very small percentage of kids that actually achieve the credit at the end of the class, so.
Brad, is
Yep,
it a 5-point scale for AP?
no, we're 4 point.
Okay, quick on this, I know most of you are aware of this, but we're into that scholarship season for seniors, and I know it's not necessarily scholarship season for the sophomores, but you need to be thinking about it, because when you're, your grades, what you're involved in, what you can put on your resume, your activity resume, your scholarship application, what can you say you've done while you were in high school? Okay, what were you involved in? I have seniors all the time come in and they're like, I don't know what to put down, I didn't do anything. I don't know what to tell you. If you're being involved in your church, being out in the community doing things, volunteering at places, being involved in athletics, fine arts, all of those different things, is always stuff that can help you with this. They're not always necessarily looking for the highest academic. Most of our local ones, in fact, a lot of them are looking for what have you done? What have you been involved in? What kinds of things have you
Scholarship committees would rather give money to well-rounded kids who've been in activities, fine arts, and they're getting a good grade point average. Very few scholarships anymore are solely grade point average. I think our kids who get the most money are involved and have decent grades and they're involved in a lot of things. And so I think the committees, all the committees I've talked to say we really want to see kids that are involved.
Career exploration, we get, a lot of our career exploration is through classes. So we have a couple classes, mainly personal finance. She does a lot of that. So students will take that in junior year or senior year. They can take it either one. If you really have no idea what you want to do, that might be a good one to consider, like semester 2 next year, 1 or 2, to start doing some of those things. They do job shadows through there. They do mock interviews. They go, they get out and they do some of this stuff. They do some career exploration on the computer. We always have the opportunity if kids ever want to come in and work through some of our career navigation stuff, our surveys and those kinds of things that we have. They can do that on their time during a study hall or open. We have lots of career days. We're always pumping these out to the kids, like, hey, aviation day is on April something. It's coming up soon. We just took a bunch of kids to health exploration day We had one where they got to go to Iowa Lakes and do a whole bunch of different, we send them what the topics are. Encourage them to take advantage of those things when they come up, because that's a lot of times how a kid gets hooked or finds something that they want to do. By talking to those people, going to those. All of the sophomores will go to Career Day in April. So we take all of them to Emmitsburg for a day, and they get to go around and listen to different people who do different jobs, ask them questions, find out what kind of degree they needed, what classes would you recommend, what's your day look like, all those kinds of things. So we have a lot of different opportunities for students to do some career exploration. Iowa Lakes offers us a lot of opportunities. They have an intermediary program out there, and Autumn Larson comes and she helps us a lot. She sets up our job shadows. We offer the job shadows through finance, and then we also offer individual ones. So if students ever want to do a job shadow, they can come in and fill that out with me, and we send them to her. So they usually have to be 16 for most of them if they want to go on their own. So if they're not 16 yet, they may want to wait till they turn 16, but then they can do pretty much any of those job shadows. Military, Mrs. White talked about that a little bit. We offer the ASVAB as an optional test in the junior year for students, junior and senior year. So next year they can take the ASVAB. It's also a good career exploration tool. If any of you have taken it, it does have the career exploration component of it, where they take your scores and then they do the interest inventory and they kind of marry those together and say, hey, based on your scores and your interests, here are some things that we think that would be a good match for you when they do the interpretation of that. So even if you're not considered military, when you see that ASVAB advertised, if you're not sure what you want to do, it might be a good idea to take that. We can get you connected too with somebody. A lot of times they come in lunchtime and we advertise that, hey, guard's going to be here over lunch, or the Air Force is going to be here at lunch. So make sure that students that you're talking to them when they're here, if that's something you're interested in. Almost done. Maybe my voice. Sites. It's a blog, but it's really not a blog. It's more like a website, but it was easy to set up, so we use the blog. If you want to subscribe to that, there's a subscription to it. I post a lot of stuff on there when we have some of these opportunities. If you can get to here from the ELC homepage. It's the guidance scholarship link on Estherville's homepage. Also has pretty much everything about high school. Our graduation requirements, course offering book, if you need to get a hold of me, Iowa Lakes classes. I mean, it literally has almost everything about the high school on here. Our kids will be like, Mrs. White all the time, go to Mrs. Breckwold's blog. She has a blog? Yes, yes, yes. It has the bell schedules, it has the lunch schedules, it has really everything. Okay, so if they need something, they can find it, or as parents, you can find it on here. So take advantage of that. It also is connected to my Twitter account that I use some, but yeah, you can see the career college fair was posted on here. And that would send you a notification to say like, hey, the juniors are going on this day. So you would always have that, because it's hard because when you have Facebook and you have Twitter and you have a blog and then you have email, and some parents have email and some don't, it's hard to make sure everybody gets all of the information. So sometimes these are easier ways for you to stay connected as far as what's going on. I do have a page where I put information on. So if you don't have that, you could follow that too, which again, I put pictures like when we go to the college fair, when we're going to be going, I post things there. And that's linked to the Twitter site that I have as well. So just some resources you can use if you want to have that information. And you can always email me or contact me if you guys have questions. I know we went through a ton of information tonight, and you probably will have questions later, and there's probably stuff I'll think, oh, I should have remembered that. We have their plans. If you guys want to take a look at them, feel free to kind of hang out for a little bit, take a look at them, ask questions, talk through it with your child if you want to see what
just think there's more opportunity now for kids than ever before, and that does not always mean a four-year college. I feel like a lot of times we talk about college at this meeting, and we do because we want everybody to have that information, but like I said, skilled labor right now is where it is at, and a four-year college, skilled labor, military have more options now than ever, and people are coming out of the military highly trained. So there's something out there for everybody, but you have to take the time to find it. So let us help, and if you have questions, ask it for our students. Go see Mrs. Bonner. She's here on a grant for college and career readiness, so that's what she's here.